Hey guys, how's it going? It's Beginnings here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. Today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think are the top 4 supports and their builds. I will be going over the pros and cons as each of the clips goes through. So with Annette, her ult is uncleansable. That means it goes through literally anything in the game. Whether that be Rourke ult, RM ult, Ibaneth ult, it'll even stop Max ult in his tracks until it disappears, obviously. She's really good wave clear, which means that she's good with mages like Raz, Illumia, Sephira, because that means you can get priority on rotation, and she's even good with ADCs like Morin or Talanis or just any ADC or mage or laner that doesn't have wave clear. She can help them clear their wave so they can rotate faster, so they can back up faster, just anything faster. As you can see from these clips, she does a decent amount of damage. Between her little vortex and her wind cuffs, she does a lot of damage, especially once you get your heal cutting or your frosties or whatever it may be. Speaking of wind cuffs, it is such a busted ability. Like, it is so unique in this game and its mechanics, and the fact that it doesn't always quite work right is part of what makes it so strong and so unpredictable. Her fall-offs, I would say, is the fact that she's so squishy. If you pick Annette, you kind of have to have a defensive side laner. Her wind cuffs do take a lot of getting used to, because like I said, it's such a wonky ability. She's very bad at getting vision, and which is why you have to build ring on her, I feel. That comes from her squishiness, and the fact that she's all skill shots means that you need quite a bit of practice. Moving on to Baldum. He is a very tanky boy. He has the best early game. He's the king of river/lane control, and he does have objective control with his ultimate. While he is weak to magic damage and poke, he's easy to kite once he misses his first ability, and his ult can really hurt your team. His second ability, when it's maxed out, means that he takes 50% less physical damage to anyone that he hits with it, while also getting bonus armor from his passive. He's just so tanky. On top of being incredibly tanky, he also has one of the best early games of all of the supports. Between his first and second ability, he can slow someone to oblivion and just beat them down with his bonus magic damage to his auto attacks. Almost no support can contest him early, which means that you have a pretty good chance of stealing a small camp or something like that. You basically have the ability to exert a lot of pressure through your zoning because nobody wants to get tossed or slowed by you. Not only does he have a lot of pressure in lane or even just roaming or in the enemy's jungle, he has objective control with his ultimate. What I mean by that is if the enemy team is doing dragon or if your team is doing dragon, you can actually ult the dragon or the dark slayer, whatever it may be, or even the sentinel, or even above, and it will go underground for 3 seconds and it cannot be touched. During that 3 seconds, you can get a pick, you can disengage, you can literally do anything to your heart's desire as long as it is about 3 seconds long. Baldum is probably the strongest support right now, but he does have some downfalls. He's really weak to magic damage and poke. Like I said, if they can outrange him, if they can outrange his first ability rather, there is nothing that you can do as Baldum. All you can do is run away. So it's pretty good idea to camp bushes or flank enemies. He's easy to kite. I've said this already. As long as his first ability is down or out of range, ADCs can kite him indefinitely. Like Talanis is really good into Baldum. Hayate is really good because he gets bonus movement speed while having 2 dashes. And your ult can absolutely destroy your team. This is Baldum's biggest downfall, and it's not even a character flaw. It is a player flaw. You can single-handedly throw a game with your ultimate. If you ult as your Illumia ults or as your Zill or Cricknack or literally anybody ults, you can throw a game that you were not super ahead in, because you were then at a huge disadvantage in a fight. While being the strongest, he also has the capability of being the least useful support out of all of them, which is why he takes quite a bit of practice. Especially, there's a big difference between a good Baldom and a great Baldom. Up next is Thane, which is probably a pretty surprising pick for some of you. He is a very tanky boy as well. Also very good against the same ADCs. In fact, I would say he's a little bit better into Talanis, just because his first ability is a bit longer range and his passive does make him a little bit tankier when he is lower. He has a ton of CC. He has probably one of the longest CC combos in this game, between his knockback with a knockup attached and then a knockup with a slow attached. Like, it is absurd how long you can CC somebody, and that is just coming from one person. His ultimate is good for solo queue because you can secure kills. And sure, that might sound like a bad thing, but being able to make sure that that pesky Morin dies, or the Caphony or Hayate, it can be the difference between losing and winning a game. Another thing Thane has going for him is his ability to change the positioning of his enemies through his first ability. When you have 40% CDR, it's on such a low cooldown, you're just constantly pushing your enemies. The only downfalls to Thane is the fact that he can save his enemies with his push, and that makes him very positioning reliant. His pushes and his knockups are easy to dodge because they're kind of slow, and kill stealing can be seen as a bad thing in solo queue. Can definitely run into some problems with some randoms, but hopefully you guys do not have any issues with that. I've been playing Thane since basically the release of this game. He's the very first support that I actually picked up, so he probably does have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart, and that's more than likely why he's on this list. But I do think in the right hands, he is game changing. He has a ton of CC, he can engage, he can peel, he's a fun time. Last but certainly not least is my girl Sephara. She has a ton of poke, she has synergy with Dragon Buff, she has a lot of sustain, and she can control just about any lane that she's supporting in. Unfortunately, she is squishy, so she can't get vision, and she will never be able to frontline no matter how tanky you build her, and she has no peel. Well, so poke-wise, her first ability is on a 5-second cooldown at level 1, but it does go down to about 3 seconds with CDR, and with you ranking it up to about 5 or 6. And because it's on such a low cooldown and it's slow and a spammable ability, it has really great synergy with the dragon buff that you get from killing the dragon. Because it's such a great synergy, and Dragon is already so game-changing, it's so important to a game, you might as well, get it onto the Sephara. It's really strong with her. With that poke also comes her ability to control just about any lane she is supporting in, whether she is dual laning with an ADC or rotating with mid and jungle. She can poke out the enemy mid laner and help your mid laner clear, or you can just create space for your ADC. And certainly the sustain you get from your passive and your ultimate is nothing to scoff at. For your passive, every time you cast an ability, your lowest ally or yourself is healed for about 100 HP. That scales with AP, and your ultimate heals all of your allies and yourself for about 400 to 500 HP. That seems a bit small, but your casting ability is just about every 3 seconds. And unfortunately, Sephara shares the same weaknesses as Annette. She's very squishy, so because she's so squishy, it's very hard for her to get vision, and she cannot be a frontline. Since it's so hard for her to get vision, I do think it's necessary to build Ring of the Fiend. And lastly, Sephara has no peel, so if you have an ADC comp and you're against a dive comp, Sephara probably isn't the best option. You're better off going with something more tanky with more peel. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I've put a lot of work into it. If you enjoy it, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. See you.